Since the early 2010s, VTubers have taken the world by storm, raking in millions of viewers through the likes of live streaming and YouTube. VTubers, or virtually YouTubers, are pretty much these cartoon avatars that people use in place of their in-person selves. They can range from being an animated version of themselves to a talking potato. This creative freedom allows for so much personalization, which is a major factor for its rapid popularity. And with its recent success, I was curious to know, what do people prefer? Would they rather be watching a 2D PNG talk about the philosophical nature of onions, or the real deal? In order to get the answer, I decided to find out for myself. So for 1 month, I attended to stream on Twitch using a VTuber avatar of my own. But before I could get started, I'd still had a bunch of questions. Like, what's the appeal of VTubing? Why choose that over making content in person? And how do you even go about making one? I asked a few VTubing streamers for their opinions, and they were generous enough to give me a little bit of insight into their world. They mentioned how a lot of the appeal comes from the relationships that you build, while also not overstepping anyone's boundaries or caring about looks. With VTubing, you also have the freedom of customization. You can add unique clothing and accessories, and even create a backstory behind your character model. When it came to how they created their VTubers, each streamer seemed to take a different approach. Some got theirs commissioned, others made it themselves, and one person just used pre-made assets for their model. After receiving a lot of feedback to these questions, I felt like it was finally time for me to experience this firsthand. The first step in this process was to find or make a VTuber model, and since I'm absolutely terrible at art, I hopped onto Fiverr looking for commissions, and holy shit, they're $300. Yeah, so I just made one myself, and after several days of drawing, this was the result. As I mentioned before, a common theme for a lot of VTubers is creating this super deep and intricate lore for their character models, but I didn't want to go the route of being a demon lord of your local 7-Eleven, so instead, he's pretty much the yassified antithesis of me and my personality. The next challenge I had to deal with was character rigging, and this was a whole nother can of worms that I had to deal with. Even after watching loads of tutorials, I still couldn't grasp how to properly get everything animated. Turns out this was a lot harder than it looked. Apparently, each individual body part needed its own separate layer in order to work correctly, and my silly ass thought it would be a bright idea to put them all into one. Fast forwarding this painful process an entire week, and about 30 redos later, the VTuber formerly known as Coley Woolly was officially born. In regards to my content I'd be making, I thought it would be best to do activities that are generally popular with VTubers, since that's what I am. Also, it's better for everything to be in the same ballpark where there's a lot of overlap in viewership. I don't think Call of Duty players are just dying of excitement to watch their favorite VTubers have a karaoke night. Once the plan was settled, much like Hannah Montana, I was ready to live my double life. But I quickly realized this wasn't gonna be the best of both worlds. Right away, there was an extremely rocky start thanks to my character model constantly looking sloshed out of his mind every time he looked downwards. But aside from the character model getting a little tipsy, everything else actually worked out pretty great. I'd even managed to get 3 followers on the first day. Through the first week, I'd mainly focused on making my profile more legit by adding different icons and images for the account. As for the streaming aspect, I tried playing games where there was a higher potential to be seen, with games like Stardew Valley, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, and The Binding of Isaac. Although I wasn't finding any luck with this approach. I then ventured into more niche genres like art in an attempt to get some sort of interaction from the chat, but again I faced the same issue. This problem continued for a whole 3 weeks of streaming daily with zero interaction from anyone, no matter the game. Luckily, I was able to come up with a backup plan that was sure to succeed. I spent a long time researching and trying to figure out what's something that everyone loves and can get behind. Big titty goth girls, and this was a complete game changer. I spent only about a week using this method and was able to double my follower count. Looking at the statistics, there were also a lot of people that tuned into the streams as well. This newfound attention I was receiving, I can only assume is due to 2 huge factors: my personality and video game skills. All jokes aside, I was getting a lot more engagement using this method. Almost every stream had someone consistently chatting with me. I even had a few regulars stop by the stream. I was slowly starting to see a little community forming, and as we approached the end of the month, it was finally time for me to gather the results. I ended the experiment with a grand total of 6 followers. Needless to say, I don't think I'll be getting signed by any of the big VTubing agencies anytime soon, and although I didn't really get any good results, I'm still glad I went through this experiment. It was a neat experience trying to explore a community that I've never really interacted with. Plus, the main goal of all of this was to see if looks really do matter, and after everything is said and done, I think it's safe to say that there really isn't a difference. difference. Every time I'd go into a VTuber's chat, there'd always be people asking if they should try VTubing or streaming. And I know this is a lame answer, but at the end of the day, because there's no difference, just do what you want. If you have a camera, use it. If not, that's fine too. A pretty VTuber might bring people into your streams, but it's your personality that gets them to stay. Anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say about the topic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.